I will be singing us in, and Cantor Niemi will be singing us out with a very special treat today. And this verse that we're going to look at, I think picks up very nicely from where we left off yesterday, which I believe was with Lori Krotman's beautiful poem that for me really brought up, how do we come back to ourselves? How do we come back to our breath in the quiet moments? And how do we let ourselves rest? And this verse, which Rabbi Shefa Gold has pulled out of Psalm 4, really talks about how do we let ourselves rest at bedtime. And I particularly loved Norman Fisher's translation of this verse, commune with your hearts in the deep of night. So this is a chant that that Rabbi Shefa Gold wrote. Imeru vilvavcham al mishkavcham. Imeru vilvavcham al mishkavcham. Domu, 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 Selah, domu, 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 Selah, imeru vilvavcham al mishkavcham, imeru vilvavcham al mishkavcham. Domu, 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 Selah, domu, 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 Selah.
Wow, that's beautiful, beautiful. Thank you, Julia. And I think, and that's a great example of how music itself is a form of interpretation. You can feel and understand the words in a way that we've been studying them. And I hope everybody recognized that verse from, I think it's verse 5, right? From Psalm 4. And just by pulling that one phrase, that one verse out, and seeing it as a chant, you start to have a whole different perspective of that one line or those few words. And that is a very big part of what Tehillim, what Psalms are about, is sometimes just attaching to a phrase or a one verse, and that verse becoming really significant. Shefa Gold, the composer and rabbi and writer, often does that, and she creates chants. And some of you know some of them. As an example, which are more obvious, I think the one that's very familiar to a lot of people at CBST is from the Psalm for Shabbat. And the melody, of course, I've lost, but where she takes the one line and repeats it over and over again, or Oziv Zimrat Yah, also from Psalms. And by taking it, you start to explore the meaning in a little, also in our slow study kind of way. And so taking that one verse out of the whole Psalm, you don't, unlike other things where context is everything, the Psalms provide an opportunity for individual words or phrases or verses to have deep, deep, deep meaning, even if you remove them from the context of the whole Psalm. And I wanted to say one other thing before we start looking at some of the, we have so many incredible personal Psalms to write, which is people have brought up, somebody mentioned, and it might've been on Facebook or in the group, that again, Psalms don't have what exists in some of the other books of the Torah narrative, right? We're not telling in the books of the Psalm, even in a disjointed way, any narrative. The Psalms don't have any legal halachic prescriptions, or when it says to follow God, it doesn't go and give you a list, or keep kosher, do this, do that. It's just, it's very much separated from what we assume are the foundations of the other holy scriptures, the sacred texts that we have in our tradition. And it's not that what exists in the Psalms don't also exist elsewhere, but the entire book of Psalms is like that, where it's all, and it's often referred to by scholars as the one book of the Bible, of the of the Tanakh, which is actually a book of prayer. And prayer exists elsewhere in the Tanakh, but the entire book is on some level prayer. It's all about personal relationships to God, to holiness, to the source of creation. And it makes it it's a very, very unusual in that way of the books. And I'm not saying it's better or worse, but just as since we're studying it, trying to give you a picture of what makes this set of 150 chapters different. There are obviously many things that are references in the Psalms. We haven't really gotten to those Psalms yet. We will. That are clearly referring to things that are mentioned elsewhere. But so far, right, everything we've seen, except for references to King David, and Absalom, otherwise, these are kind of timeless. There's no way to say, wow, the power of Psalm 4 works, you know exactly when it was written. Of course, that's interesting, and we want to figure that out, and it's fascinating to see its reference, but it has eternal meaning. And that's part of what I want to share with all of you, why they're so powerful for me, that the human experience of experiencing God's absence and suffering and despair and hopelessness is an eternal feeling. And the feeling of finding a path towards wholeness and seeing our lives as a constant movement toward that is eternal. Eternal. And our ancestors experienced the kind of pain we experience. And we hope by looking to them, we see some examples of how to recover, how to build resilience, how to experience hope again, even though our lives have been shattered, how to know there is a future. And as I said, some of that, I once gave Marcia Milnick, she gave me some incredible response to it that has been very helpful to me since, is that there's something called the Doppler effect, which some of you, which I don't really know it from its original meaning, but I think it's something in physics about how when you watch an object, it looks faster. Somebody's going to correct me on this, but there's something about the speed at which you see something changes whether you're watching the train approach the station or the train leave the station. Does this sound right to people?
Sound. It's when it goes, that's the Doppler effect.
Okay, so the Doppler effect, but it has to do with whether it's approaching or leaving, right? And the famous example is you're standing on a train station, the train approaching, right? Does this sound familiar to people?
Or a marching band, or like you're in a parade.
Say it, yeah.
Well, if you're standing, say, on the street waiting for a parade to pass you, the sound of the band approaches, and then you hear it right in front of you, and then it dissipates as it leaves.
And which is faster? What's the science part of it?
It depends on how much coffee you have in the morning out of your favorite cup.
Okay, does somebody actually know this?
Yeah. So as you come towards it, the sound waves are compressed and it's higher. And then when it passes, and then when it goes out, it slowly goes as the train goes by.
So it's faster or slower?
It comes to you faster as the train is coming towards you. And then as the train goes away from you, it comes to you slower, so it's a lower pitch.
Can you do that imitation again, Harold?
Yeah, that was very nice. So the moral of the story is, I think I read this, and Marcia Melnick might remember who I was reading at the time, because I referred to it in a drash, and she actually had read the book. So was it Wallace Stevens? No, it wasn't Wallace Stevens. I can't remember who talked about the Doppler effect in life. That when you're looking ahead toward your life, and again, I don't really understand the science part, but when you're looking, Doppler effect, thank you, Peter Klein. Yes, you could look this up. When you're looking ahead, your life looks really differently than when you're looking behind at what has already gone on. And honestly, we don't always understand when we're looking ahead or experiencing the present, when the sound is with us at the moment, we don't really understand what's happening. Only by looking back and that's only if we're lucky. It's not always happen even in our lifetime. Do we maybe make some meaning or understand a deeper meaning of what a moment in our life has meant. And Shep gave us a beautiful, beautiful example yesterday, which Shep, so meaningful, that when Shep was going through all of his issues about HIV and then losing his arm and having it amputated, you know, he thought his life was over. You know, he thought there was no possibility. And now, many, many years later, what is about 25 years ago, Shep, right, that your arm was amputated?
1994, 26 years ago.
Yeah, so
exactly.
since I was at CBST, so I certainly remember that. But looking back on it now, 26 years later, Shep can look back on that horrific, one could say, completely devastating experience, and now can actually understand that it has on some level given him something he didn't have before that's shaped who he is, and he actually can even express gratitude.
I do have gratitude.
Yeah.
I do.
And that's what the Psalms are all about, are giving us language of when we're closer to being in the moment and being devastated, it gives us that language of what devastation is. But it will over and over again give us, hopefully, the arc that reminds us that there might be another way to understand how terrible things are and what they mean in our lives. And we might even get to a place of seeing that they're having, we will emerge from it even stronger or more with deeper self-knowledge or with a deeper sense of peace. And I bet you, Shep, you would add that about yourself, right? In terms of who you were as a younger man and who you are now and how you see these things in your life. Shep, it looks like you're jumping off the bridge. I have to say, it's very disconcerting. It looks like...
My heart's in San Francisco. I'm in the East Village.
I know, but it looks like you're jumping off the bridge. I don't want to...
Oh, no, I actually sometimes think about what happened to me. I was so determined to live. I kind of committed unsuicide. I wanted to live so desperately. And yeah, you know, when you're in the middle of something like that, you don't really know the outcome of what the lesson you're going to learn. It's only after the fact. You look back. I actually did look back some months after to see what was this all about? What did I learn from it? And I got some real lessons, and I should write a book about it. But yeah.
So and you know, and you have to be careful, because obviously I don't want to ever say, wow, people should suffer in order to become. That's obviously you never want to wish it on any of us, but it's the human condition to suffer, and it's the human reality to experience terror.
It's a matter of getting a perspective on what happened.
And the Psalms, and I feel like the Psalms give us a little bit of that framework. So all right, that's a little bit of my hakdama, as we say. And Marcia Malik, do you remember what book that was? It was a great novel. Okay, but anyway, well, I'll try to remember. Let's go, Harold, so let's go to our personal Psalms today.
Okay. So we stopped with Lori last time, if I'm correct. And so we are on Allison Drew Klein. Let me make this a little bigger. Can everybody see?
Yes.
All right, here we go. Allison, unmute yourself.
Am I unmuted?
Yes. You're good. Go, Allison. Do you see it, Allison?
Okay, so read
Oh,
first.
you're
I'll
breaking up.
read first. Yes, can you hear me?
Start at the beginning.
No? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello? No?
All right,
Hello now?
try it now. You know,
Hello?
Allison,
Ozi Vizimrat
yes. Read your, can you see it? Read it. Can you read it off the screen?
Hello, universe. Hello, universe. Wait, what am I doing? Speaking, praying, calling out to technically nothing, an idea, a self-proclaimed prophet, a rumor, sing, hear me. Me, a nobody. Should I even expect a response when I have yet to see any evidence of your existence? They attack me, and where are you? Sing, hear me. Where's the comfort that you allegedly provide? Where's this great leader's guidance I seek? Sing, hear me. And why even bother to try to appease you, minus any evidence of so-called almightiness? Sing, hear me. You are jealous and cruel. You've lied, manipulated, teased, threatened, and tormented. This is how you teach us. Sing, hear me. How much attention you demand. The arrogance, ceaselessly testing our loyalty. Sing, hear me. You have swayed the masses, even your children, pitting one against the other, unjustly, heartlessly leaving no path to joy. Sing, hear me. Who will show us if not you? Sing, hear me. Where is that peaceful dwelling? What have I learned? Where am I safe? When can I rest? I yearn for the comfort of the lyre, and to sing and to sleep.
Oh.
Wow, fabulous, Allison. Would you talk to us a little bit about writing it and what you're thinking and how you came to this?
I have to start with, this is a whole thing, for me to interpret anything is beyond my comprehension. I would say 99.999% of the time. And even as I do a book report, impossible. And when I look at Psalms and re-look at them and look at them again, like they all seem basically the same to me. Same words pop out. It's like I'll read it over, I'll really put myself into it, and it's like Charlie Brown's teacher, wah, 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 is all I hear. When you explain it and start interpreting, and it's like so eye-opening, and then I love even the language and getting into the words and the roots of the words, each letter, it just makes it a whole vastly different experience. So getting to writing it, which is for me an impossibility, I really had to force myself to try to do it, because I hear it as homework, even though you specifically said, let me encourage you, it's not homework. To me, homework is an anathema, and I immediately can't do something, and I'll avoid it and not want to humiliate myself, etc., etc. And so doing this, well, I'm like surprised at myself that I even did it, to tell you the truth. But during all these crazy COVID circumstances, I guess I just said, fuck it. And sorry, Rabbi. You know, if not now, when? So I just said, forget it. I'll just, Harold basically lied to me and told me it was good. But I really felt like it was a jumble of words. And so I did do the 9. I was trying to do some kind of correlation to each pasuk. But when I looked at each section and then tried to interpret, I couldn't do anything. So I put it down and I just started to write, and would look back and go back and forth. And again, the words like just would jump out, and I would just write something down, and it just seemed like a jumble of nothing, honestly, when I looked at it. And I kept rereading it. And atheist, the guy with the white beard is always clouding my vision, and so it just seemed like words piling out, and I was just trying to put some semblance and whatever kind of correlation to the psalm. It's music to me. Music is godly, and
well, and I love that repetition.
The one last thing I want to say is that somebody said the other day about accountability and responsibility, and I see a lot of that as being on us also. I don't remember what they said exactly, but I see this too as saying, okay, you know, you, whoever you, what is, created this vastness, and now it's on us. Now it's on us. So, you know, who, why, give me this, Lord, blah, 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 blah. Well, it's on us. We're here now. We have all this, and now what are you going to do with it? I don't know. Sort of. Well, I think it's for help, and
yeah, fantastic. I just want to look at it as
mocking it.
Right. First of all, I think this is fantastic, and that's not making something up, because it's expressing this level of anger toward God, which I think is a profound part of Psalms and a profound part of the human experience. And I think I really love seeing that like that. And I love the rhythm of using sing, which is reflecting back to the very setup of the psalm, right? That it clearly is about music. And you're sing, hear, and the repetition of sing and hear me is taking something out from the original psalm and doing it in your voice, which I love. And I love this anger, and I love if we can go down a little bit, Harold. And I love the description of ways that you're angry at God, and that you find by the place you get to through this, by the course of this psalm, isn't to complete comfort, because that's not real for you. You're yearning for that comfort, and you go back to using lyre and sing, and that sleep as being able to sleep, which we all know, and especially in these moments, is the ultimate expression of being at peace. So I love it. I love it. Thank you, Allison. Keep doing it.
Judy Hollander, please approach the microphone. Judy Hollander, I know you're there.
Okay. Oh, yeah. I am dedicating this writing to all of us who are at home and in this situation, perhaps find ourselves focusing a little bit too much on our imperfections without anything to distract us, and can get into a really unpleasant state in that situation. So this is to all of us. And I call it Variation on Psalm 4 in response to Midah, balance or lack thereof. I'm taking class with Rabbi Mark Margolius, and the Midah last week was balance. And so that's what this sort of prompted it, although it isn't it. And this is version 1.0. For the lead player, my indomitable ego who controls the show, shut up. Years of therapy, drumming, chanting, support groups, time and money spent searching for the true Judy. Come to my assistance now. How long will you evade me and hide behind the need to be perfect, at least better than you or you or you? Too long. That's in the wrong space, Harold. Perfection is what you crave, or striving to be the bestest of everyone. How much more will it take to free me? Too much. You make a good day shit. You force constant evaluation, self-approbation, self-loathing. You cast a shadow on joy and contentment. Let go and let me be. Let me know that what I am is good enough. I scroll up, please.
Okay.
Let me go and let me be. Let me know that what I am is good enough. At least just shut up. To be continued, version 1.1, the part where my ego supports me.
Wow.
Not yet achieved.
Wow. This is incredible, Judy. Fantastic. So you see what Judy's doing is that she's going to the deepest of internal and seeing the lead player as her ego. That's an incredibly creative reading and very, very, very honest and vulnerable and powerful. Fantastic. I think we all can relate to it for sure. And I really love you're using it this way. And I love that you're doing the studying of Midot with Rabbi Margolius and then the Psalms and bringing that in here. Fantastic.
Sarah
Okay,
Siegel.
next.
Oh, Sarah Siegel.
Hi, okay. And the band played on David's song. I sought God, oh judicious God, set me free from my self-imposed non-COVID confinement. Hear me over the music. People, oh people who don't get my intensity, quit humming just jingles, give it a rest. God gets me. God picks up when I call. You should pay attention, pay your respects day or night, then rest? No, make some real sacrifices. Many of you want signs and God's light-filled face to shine. I'm already freely flowing because God heard me. The band played on, but no matter, I sleep in peace, liberated.
Wow. So it's so interesting to see also those of you who are comfortable using the word God at all. And what does that mean for you, Sarah?
It's funny because I think it was Sheldon yesterday who had a dash in his.
Uh-huh.
And I love directly talking about God. I took a note yesterday just on that. At that point, I wrote God versus G-D. So my family was not Orthodox, and my mom sent us to a modern Orthodox Jewish day school for 8 years so that we'd learn Hebrew. And anyway, so I have all this stuff from that still in me. And it's a thrill for me to write God without a dash. It's like, I feel so naughty, and it's great. So I didn't want to write Hashem. I didn't want none of it. I just God. Okay, that's that. Yeah, and the rest.
And I love your contrast with the confinement. And again, it's very interesting to see the things that are coming out of this moment. Because if you just use the word confinement in regular times, it would be clear. But I love the contrast between, yeah, we could be confined physically by external situations, but we're talking about something even deeper. Yeah. I love that.
Thank you. Yeah, I have to say I felt very, oh, sorry. Did you need me to stop, Harold?
No, go ahead. Just keep going.
I just wanted to say I felt very invited by you because it's not, I do feel like, wow, this august group, who am I to write a psalm and read it aloud to X many people, or a poem of any sort. And then something you said the other day, that it's really important to take these and personally relate to them.
Yep.
And that's when I felt invited. I'm like, okay, I did that the first time, whether I was invited or not, but now it's clear to me from everybody else's offerings and that it's a good thing for me to really try to get there. I wanted to say just two other things. One is this whole thing about Psalms being whiny and nasty, this combo of whininess up front and nastiness to other people, and how like I'm blocked. I can't quite figure out how to deal with the being nasty to other people part of these Psalms, where I was like, it's kind of thrilling to be mean to others because they've been mean to me. But I think I'm struggling with, you said it up front today, and that should have been enough for me when you said, oh, this is really all eternal. You know, these themes of struggle and, feeling put upon. It's true, but it doesn't make me comfortable with, I don't know. I'm sorry. I can't remember the woman who turned it around and said, don't punish the others, leave them alone. In one of her Psalms, was it you, Lori? I see you smiling. Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, that was brilliant. I haven't gotten there yet with the second.
And that's why one of the things is, if that remains an obstacle, because it's complicated to figure out how to handle those part of it, just read the Psalm as internal. What are the demons inside of you that you're struggling against? And how do you want to so-called conquer them? Not that and that you start to see, okay, you don't want to kill yourself. You want to,
like Judy was saying, yeah.
You want those demons to stop being the demons they are in your life. And I think we are much more comfortable in our modern language and kind of to talk about the demons internal that we have to overcome.
That's wonderful. Just this "and the band played on" point, that was obviously, a reference to Here We Are Again.
Yep. And another plague.
Yeah. Okay.
Great. Thank you so much, Sarah. I noticed that, and I love that reference, by the way. I love that.
Sure.
Okay. Well, I just want to say how meaningful these poems, these Psalms are to me. People saying things that I may feel, but I don't have the courage to say. So thank you. This is called Angel's Landing. I call out again across this canyon. Echoes of past answers return, 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 but fade. My children, you scamper to the cliff's edge with your youthful sure-footedness, taunt the abyss, mock my cautious steps, my breathlessness. dismiss my entities to step back. Can you not see the emptiness, inches from your laughter and the brink? Awaiting if the earth quakes, gives way, you slip. The Virgin River hisses below. I call out again. My voice reflects back, the vastness of this crevice as shadows veil the far side canyon wall, obscure the narrow path we climb. I stumble, you gather me up, lead me to a cove you scouted, with trees surrounding, water cascades nearby. Assure me it was all in jest. Ascend with me, settle your eyes. The sight makes us tremble as this slim rocky point, still, resting, humble, offers us breathtaking beauty. Together, we receive all.
Wow. Talk to us a little bit about this, Sherry.
Well, as I said, I don't think I have the courage to get angry on paper. I get angry, Simon, don't I? I do, but I don't think I have the bravery, the courage to reach so deep within and take it from the Psalms. So I take something from the Psalms and I sort of transform, because I have trouble with the mockery, the outside, telling people, you know, the trumpets to change their ways and all that. But I have children, and a lot of us have children, not biological children, just children, younger youth. And I feel this psalm very much is about David, or about the speaker having grown since Psalm 3, having confidence in the speaker's own self and ability to get through the despair, and just needing a little help with that, and having wisdom to impart to those who haven't gotten there yet. And I guess for me, my last effort in Psalm 3 ended, I went from hope to despair. So I thought it might be nice for me to get to a place of peace and awe with the holiness surrounding us.
Well, I love this, and I want everybody to notice how profound it is for those of you who are staying close to the structure, and then for those of you who are seeing the psalm as a complete jumping point and taking an idea and exploring it without staying close to the psalm structure. All are legitimate expressions of our personal psalms, and fantastic. All right, let's keep going, because I want to see if we can get
one question to Sherry. You capitalize the V in Virgin. Is there a river called the Virgin River, or is this an untrammeled river?
Oh, well, that would be nice. But there is, Angel's Landing is actually in Zion National Park in Virgin, Utah. And the Virgin River snakes below it, way below Angel's Landing. And it's a very difficult trail. You have to hug onto ropes in order not to fall, chains and ropes. And so I capitalized it for that reason.
Great.
Thank you so much.
Betsy.
Beautiful.
Thank you. So actually there should be spaces between some of this, but that's okay. So first, I just want to say before I read, and I'm very nervous, which is interesting, is that how much I appreciate both being able to do this and the incredible honesty and vulnerability that people have shared in their writing, and that is allowing me to do that in a way that, and since I've never met any of you personally, it's even more so the permission I'm giving myself and the permission I feel from all of you to do that is quite astounding and beautiful. And I really thank you all.
Well, beautiful. Thank you, Betsy. So
this,
read to us.
yes. So I call this knowing Psalm 4. In my calling out God, I beseech you, pay attention. During my bleakest hour of aloneness and desperation, does my despair and anger push you away? Is my darkness too dark? Or do you have mercy and hear my pleas? I know my anguish chases away my friends. Few would accompany me to the darkest crevices of my soul. Hopeless and betrayed, mocked and scorned by the shallow ones, I sit in my pain and abandonment. And then, slowly, ever so slowly, I catch a sliver of light, a speck of color, a flower of spring begins to open my heart. In my aloneness and solitude, I meditate and pray, and I reach to you with gratitude. Is my devotion to you my reward? Did you hear my crying soul? Though others need to be shown your face, I feel you in the lightning and depth of my soul. In each moment of my breath, when I lie down and when I rise, you cradle me.
Wow. This is incredible. Beautiful. Talk to us a little bit, Betsy.
Betsy, are these two last lines yours or no? In this knowing comes joy?
No, all of that shouldn't be there.
Okay.
That was what I think it was there originally. That was what we should have, anyway.
Got it. Done.
Yeah, it ends with you cradle me. Thank you. That was edited stuff that should have come out. So I had I have trouble because I don't know, I can't look at the Hebrew and do my own translation. So I struggle with trying to do my own. And so with this, I actually went back to all my notes of some of your translations, Rabbi, and then first started with some of that, and then found my hook of what it really meant to me by using some of your translation. And some of this really went to places when my marriage ended 20 years ago. I was in such despair and pain for a long time. And some of my pain has just been too hard for my friends to be with me. And so some of this is very personal. And I remember a spring, a few years after my initial separation, of really suddenly seeing spring and suddenly seeing the aliveness coming. And I realized that I was coming back alive. And, and so this poem brought me back to that. And I think in terms of you're talking about the resilience of knowing of that muscle, that this also reminded me that I keep working on that muscle as other things show up. I'm not sure anything quite as painful as that, but, and that I did go from the despair to solitude, which is very different when I found that word. My aloneness and solitude is different than feeling abandoned. And it was a different connection, I think, to God and how prayer is so meaningful to me.
Beautiful, Betsy. And again, the honesty is exactly what the psalmist is referring to. So I so deeply appreciate your bringing it to us. And every human being alive can relate to that and know what it's like to have such deep despair that you're isolated from other people. And the psalmist is describing that and saying at those moments, the only place to go with that sometimes is whatever you imagine to be that holiness that created you. And that gives that level of comfort. And it is what happens in grief and the recovery from it, as Darina just mentioned. So thank you. Beautiful. Keep writing.
Thank you.
Ellen.
And by the way, Betsy, most people in class cannot translate from the Hebrew themselves. You're not alone in that at all.
No, I realize that. It's just my own frustration as I go to respond to it. It feels like it's the second, I'm removed.
Well, that's why we're giving you translations so that you can look at them and play with them. Good, thank you. So happy to have you in the class.
Thank you.
Ellen Poster.
Okay, giving birth. I aim for you in the evening from damp sheets and a narrow bed, In my cramps and pants, the midst of my struggle, you comfort me. In your light in the night, I make peace with old cruelties I knew as truth. I find space to praise your goodness to me and expanding possibility, to become as holy myself as I dare to be. My nights are not empty, my dreams are sweeter. My heart follows your lead and beats to your meter.
Wow. So tell us a little bit about writing this and the header, Giving Birth.
So I also so much have appreciated your repeated invitation to try to reach inside the psalm and find something personal. And I finally gathered up the courage to try that.
Good.
And so there's pain in the physical act of giving birth, but more so, I think it's actually harder and longer to try to come to terms with your own childhood, at least for me, and sort of give birth to who you could be, who you aspire to be. And so all the things in the psalm about narrowness and wideness and
beautiful.
It just makes me think about contraction and expansion and that
Beautiful.
act of giving birth. So that's where I was going.
Beautiful. Really, really meaningful. You did a superb job. And I find I make peace with old cruelties I know as truth. I find space to praise your goodness. Really fantastic. And I do like that contrast with the damp and narrow and then with the space to praise. Beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I believe this is our last one on this sheet for right now. Megan?
Okay.
Are you there, Megan?
Hi.
Hi.
Yeah, I am. So just very quickly, I first heard the word Selah, pronounced as Selah, because it was the name of like a character in a favorite show of mine. So that's how I read it when I read the Psalms. So and
God, it is traditional. It is in some Christian pronunciations of it will be Selah.
Oh, okay.
So
yeah, I was like, oh, maybe they. It was that show Turn that's set during the Revolutionary War about Washington.
Oh yeah, I love that show. I love that.
Yes, it's amazing. It's amazing.
So it is some Christian traditions do pronounce it Selah.
Okay, so I'm just going to pronounce it that way because I wrote this psalm. I wanted to rewrite it the way that I read it because the Psalms are something. This is one of the Psalms that I go to for comfort over the years and to feel connected to God. So I'm writing it the way I read it when I read it on my own. To God, my love, my song. Sometimes I drop to my knees and I beg. You are always there to answer me, even when I refuse to ask, even when I don't know to ask, even when I refuse to listen to your reply. God of my heart, God of my need, God of my loss. In the despair of my addiction, you answered me. When I lost our baby, you answered me. On the way to the hospital, you answered me. You set me free from the torments of my illness. I know full well I am drawn to vain things, to the lies of isolation and self-reliance, to the emptiness of self. I know full why it is my fault. It isn't my fault. It doesn't matter. Selah. You set me free. Then every day you set me free again. Thank you for that. Seriously, I mean it. I know I'm a pain in the ass that way. No one can hate me the way I hate myself. No one can love me the way you love me. Selah. Justice.
Wow. So do you want to say it? Oh, sorry. I didn't realize.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
I'll do it really fast. Justice
I didn't see the. Go ahead.
It's what you demand in return for myself and all the others. I try, I fail, I succeed, I fail again, I try again. For you, my darling, humble God, have gifted my suffering with meaning. It's a iota world. What happened in the past is past, except for you, my ever-present presence, the light of my life, the extinguisher of my despair. My heart finds joy in your love, even when my poisons thrive. Still it returns, my yearning for sleep. It's a bug in the code, I can't help it. You hold me to your chest and keep me awake with lullabies.
Wow. So talk to us briefly about this. I know we're close to end, but I really want to hear some, let's just give a little extra time so we can hear you tell us a little bit about this writing.
Yeah, just the previous Psalms I've connected to more in terms of like literary or historical point of view, but this is I have a book of Psalms that for many years, this is my translation that I like go to in a time of, it's just something I keep by my bed. And it's
beautiful.
And for me, I have a very simple and straightforward relationship to God that has developed over the past decade. And that daily connection is part of what keeps me alive and keeps me in life. And I, you know, he or she or it is like my ace up my sleeve. So that's
beautiful. And I think, and I love also the honesty here. And I also love to God, my love, my song, also using song and that reference in the Psalm itself. And the very specific pains you've lived through are so powerful. It's not just an empty metaphor. It's not just a theory. Yeah. You've experienced this in your life. So that's so beautiful. And I love the phrase, to the emptiness of self, I am drawn to vain things. So also referring back to this is it's very personal. The enemies, so to speak, are not external. They're not who you're fighting outside in the world. These are the emptinesses that we're drawn to are personal, are internal.
Yeah. And it's God gives meaning to my life, and it's why I'm alive today. So that's really
beautiful. Wow. And that God is there for your loss and for your need, for your heart, for your love, for the both. Beautiful, really beautiful. Thank you so much.
And to remind me that, you know, the final sleep, it's not up for me. It's up to God. Because it's like suicidal ideation is something that has been a big part of my story since childhood. And God is why I don't, you know, for today, pick that up. So.
Wow. Wow. Thank you so much for that. Whoa, I think we've just experienced so much deep holiness, and I hope everybody's seeing, and I hope every time you read or hear another person's experience of the Psalm, your experience of the original Psalm gets deeper. And we're each bringing these prisms through which we bring something out that's going to be different, but hopefully it helps each of us get a deeper connection to the original Psalm. It's going to be fantastic to have all these published for us to have in our hands.
Yes. So I know we're running a little late, but we do have this gorgeous offering from Cantor Niemi. So cross your fingers that I can get the text on the screen and play the recording, okay?
In Psalm 5, we will be starting on Monday.
Harold, would it be easier if I did it live? Sorry.
If you'd like to do it live, we'd love to have it live. But I have let's try. Let me try this and see if I get the recording, because the recording, all right?
Sure.
And then if not, we can go live. All right, can everybody see that? Yes. Okay. Can you hear? Give me a thumbs up if you can hear.
Lay me down in peace, lay me down in wholeness, for you alone, oh God. Keep me safe from harm. Lay me down in trust. Lay me down in faithfulness. And let me not forget that you are with me. Holy Adonai Ekram. Raya Aneni Mehar Kocho. Holy Adonai Ekram. Raya Aneni Mehar Kocho. Lay me down in peace. Lay me down in wholeness. You alone, oh God, keep me safe from harm. Lay me down in trust. Lay me down in faithfulness. Let me not forget that you are with me. Lay me down tonight, but don't lay me down alone. And when I call out, will you answer? Holy Adonai Ekram. Maya Aneni Mehar Kocho. Holy Adonai Ekram. Maya Aneni Mehar Kocho. el Adonai ekra. Vaya'aneni mehal kodsho. Koli el Adonai ekra. Vaya'aneni mehal kodsho. Koli el Adonai ekra. Vaya'aneni mehal kodsho.
Jacob, this is amazing. Did you write this recently?
Over the course of the hold on.
Hold on, that's great. We're getting
Sorry.
To answer your question, the idea started to come to me when we were studying Psalm 3 and I looked ahead, but it didn't take shape until we got through more of our work with Psalm 4. I really was moved by the connection between the two. And for me, my whole life, especially in reflection that I've done in my own spiritual work, has been a constant process of calling out from a place of narrowness and receiving a response from the expanse. And every time it happens that I'm in that narrow place, I have to reassure myself that the response will come. And it's something that I work through in different stages and in different cycles over and over again. And especially for me is also connected to challenges that has caused for me with being able to sleep well. And so all of the language for me just really ties together. And then the one line that really is so personal for me too is let me not forget that you are with me. I had a really wonderful conversation with a chaplain colleague of mine who has terminal cancer. And somebody once asked him what he prays for himself. And he said that I may always feel God's presence. So this has been really a moving experience, so moving for me to hear all of the poetic offerings too.
So how amazing for us to have a composer at your level as part of this community, and to hear your composing, and you can totally hear with the music you've composed how it brings out the deep meaning of it. Maybe on Monday we could do it again, and you could do it live and teach us all, and we can sing with you, because I think that would just be so moving. And just love having you, the class, getting to see what I keep saying, what a composer can do. That's another level of interpretation, and that's just fantastic, Jacob. We're so grateful. I'm so grateful that you're part of this journey we're all taking together. So let's go back to that on Monday. And on Monday, then we're going to start Psalm 5, which is the longest psalm we've encountered so far. It's 13 verses. So if you could look at it over the weekend and spend a little time with Psalm 5. And again, watch the arc of your experience of the psalm. You might at first feel totally alienated, but know that you've experienced getting to a place of connection. So trust that will happen again. And see if you could start using the skills you're developing. And you could just Google a translation. Don't worry too much about it. We'll parse it out together when we get to it on Monday. So, anything else, Harold?
Yeah, I will send out the text sheet with the Hebrew and the translation for Monday. I will send out all of the text that we shared. I'm also going to send out the chat because we had such beautiful comments about to the poets while their poetry was being read, and I want to make sure that everybody gets to see that. And thank you all. I mean, this is just unbelievably. I was sitting here with.
It's a miracle. What we're creating, this group, it's miraculous. It really is miraculous and so holy.
All right, tomorrow you're off.
And Shabbat Shalom. See everybody at Shul Friday night, 6:30, and we have Shabbos morning adult B'nai Mitzvah of 3 CBS team members: Ivan Zimmerman, Julia Porper, and Barbara Gaines. So Shabbat morning is services also, but see everybody Friday night, 6:30. See you in my apartment then.